Hello my lovelies, Jem here and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. I am considerably more compos mentis than I was in the last video. I've had a couple of nights to get back into my sleeping pattern and things, so I'm feeling a bit more full of beans and a bit brighter today, which is good. Welcome back also to our colour along in Animorphia by Kerby Rosanes, and we have a plan of action. We are getting close to finishing. It feels like this has gone on forever, this colour along. Is it just me or do you guys feel the same? Anyway, the plan for today is to finish off our fishy friend. We only have a little bit to do here. I'm nearly finished with the scales. Hooray! And then we're going to tackle just these bits and bobs that we haven't coloured. So basically all the items that are left on this page. And that will be us for this video, which just leaves the background, which if you think all the way back to the very first video, if you remember that far back, I picked out a turquoise pastel, soft pastel, and we're going to complete the background. So in essence that could be a standalone video on using soft pastels, but it also finishes off this picture as well. So without any more messing about, let's get down to business. I have my 3 fishy pencils. And here we go, as per usual. We have, oh, that's really close up. We have Lilac, which is PC956. We have Parma Violet, which is PC1008. And finally, we have the Dioxazine Purple Hue, which is PC132. Yeah, so today is Wednesday and you will see this video on Friday, and I just thought that the colour along was a good way to ease myself back into filming videos. So I've got the lilac here, starting with the lilac. And I'm just going to try and match up what I've been doing with these scales. I'll stick that down in there. Yeah, so it's been a rough couple of days. My honeymoon trip was it's 24 hours door to door. We sat and worked it out with the time difference and everything, so it's quite a rough trip anyway, and there's a bit of hanging about when we were waiting for our connecting flight as well, so it's just kind of knocked me a little bit, and it's taken me a few days to get back to normal, but I'm pleased to report that I am definitely getting there. And that's exactly what I need right now. When I went back to work on Monday, I literally had no clue what was going on. I felt as if I was floating about in like a big soapy bubble, and everyone was talking to me and sending me emails and things, and I just sort of sat and nodded and smiled as if I knew what was going on. So yeah, that was fun as well. But yeah, so I'm feeling a bit more human now. It's pretty good. I'm a bit confused about this one here because this is a really big scale. I think I'm going to have to go the full 3 colour gradient with this. I'll keep it quite light up here. If you've got a situation like that, you're as well putting down an entire layer of your lightest colour, because it's not really going to do much harm if you want to go over it with a darker colour. That's my theory anyway, and I'm sticking to it. I'm actually surprised that I remember how to colour at all. I did take a substantial amount of art stuff with me when I went to Mauritius, and I ended up, I didn't colour at all the whole time I was there. I did sketch, I did draw, but I think that was in part due to the fact that I was away when Inktober started, and I am participating this year. If you're interested in my Inktober drawings, if you head over to Instagram, all the social media links are in the description box below. You can follow my Inktober journey on a daily basis over there. I will probably film a video around the middle of the month, which will be a sort of speed drawing of one of my Inktober prompts. But yeah, if you want to see all of them, you can go and check out my Instagram. Yeah, so I ended up doing a fair bit of drawing while I was away, but I just had no inclination to colour. But also as well, it was pretty warm and I didn't want my pencils sitting out in the heat for too long. So I ended up just not really colouring at all, which is, the upshot of that is I've kind of forgotten what it's like to pick up a coloured pencil. So yeah, we'll just take this a step at a time. Okay, I'm shifting to the Parma Violet here because I'm coming down, you know, closer to the bottom. So I just want to start giving the scales a bit of depth again with the slightly darker colour. Another method or way of doing these kind of things could be to go over all your scales in lilac. You know, if you wanted to do it sort of more as a bigger picture type exercise, you could give them all a light coat of lilac and work your way down just in one big gradient. That would be probably a quicker way of doing it as well. It might be slightly easier than the awkward method that I've given you, or the way that I'm doing it here, but that's entirely up to yourself. Okay, so I'm just slapping the lilac down in these middle ones because we're not leaving a highlight because we're coming towards the middle of the fish again. Just gonna keep going all the way around with that. So once I've got them all coloured in, oh, wrong pencil, back to Parma Violet. I can go back in and sort of even them up a little bit if that's what I think they need. Yeah, Parma Violet. So these bottom ones here, I'm just going in with, I'm still relatively light pressure, I'm not pressing really hard, but I'm just going to Parma Violet all these scales down here, what's left. And we can take it from there. Dioxazine in a couple of these bottom ones again. Again, usual story, I'm pressing really hard to start with and then I'm letting up as I head out towards the wider part of the scale. Back with the Parma Violet here. Just polish that up a bit, tidy it up, make it look a bit more finished off. I'm surprised I haven't like chewed through more of these pencils than I have, because we have used rather a lot of purple. I'm just putting a little bit along the bottom here. Again, if I feel it's not dark enough, I can go back in, excuse me, and I can always, you know, add a bit more in later on if that's the way I'm feeling. The other thing that's been a bit of a shock to my system since I got back was number one, trying to put my jeans on, which was hilarious. I have put on a considerable amount of weight after being away. The Mauritians have an incredibly large sweet tooth, which is something that I generally don't have. Their tea is very sweet, and they sweeten their cow's milk as well. So I have basically spent a fortnight just ingesting copious amounts of sugar, on top of a considerable amount of rum, which the Mauritians also like. So yeah, I think the weight gain was inevitable. What I wasn't prepared for was struggling to fasten my jeans. So we are back to a slightly more sensible dietary setup. And I am going to have to try very hard to watch what I'm doing and see if I can get the poundage that I have put on back off. The second thing that happened in relation to that was I took myself out running 2 days after I got back, and oh my goodness, that was a bad idea. I don't know what possessed me, but naturally I did swim a lot while I was away. I was quite active. And the water's absolutely lovely, and it's sort of like a lagoon because you're protected by the coral reef. So I did go and swim in the sea every day, and I made a point of swimming for half an hour, you know, just every morning once my breakfast had settled. And that's all very fair and well. I'm a really good swimmer, I'm a strong swimmer, and I find swimming generally isn't too much of an effort for me. But when I came back and went running, it just all went horribly wrong. I thought I was going to fall over. And I wasn't even running fast or anything, it was ridiculous. So yeah, we've had to... I've taken myself into a corner and had a word with myself. Pull yourself together, Jem, come on. And get back into the running routine. My race is coming up, it's 4 weeks away, but as I've explained to some of you before, if you've watched some of my other videos, that race that's coming up isn't actually for me. I've got a group of beginners who have never run a race before, and well, most of them have never run before, and that's the sort of the first race that I make them sign up for. So Although in saying that, they will be running on their own. I will not be running around with them. I still pay for an entry and I will still go and try and get a time. But I had quite a nasty infection about a fortnight before we went away for our honeymoon. And right, I'm switching back to the lilac now just to tidy up some of this and sort of even it out. So I was out for nearly 2 weeks before we went away, and then 2 weeks being away, so I've missed 4 weeks. So I'm having to sort of rejig my ambitions based on my capabilities. I was hoping to beat my time from last year, but realistically I think I'll be happy if I can match it. I don't think I think I'm being too hard on myself if I expect much more than that. Right, I'm just tweaking here. I'm not explaining what I'm doing because I'm just doing this by eye and deciding where to pop darker bits in, and this is really up to you, and this is the part where I say to you, you know, you have to go for it. I'm not going to sit here and hold your hand with this. You should be able to look back and see roughly where your dark parts are, where your lighter parts are, and so on and so forth, all the way up. And just work away at it. And it's one of those ones, when you go away and do other parts of the picture, you come back to it, sometimes you see something that you've missed. So leave your purple pencils out. Right, I'm quite happy with that as it stands, so I'm going to move on over to his head. See the sunlight's creeping in here. Ooh, sunshine, what's that? Came back to Scotland and went, oh, it's raining. Alright, so I've got my lilac here, and I'm just going to darken in this little part of his face down to his nose. And I'm going to take the Parma Violet. If you remember, we did use all 3 colours when we were working up here, but they were just very, very slight. So we'll continue that on. There's a little guy there. Let's work on the shaded bits again. That's the easiest part. So I've got my dioxazine, and I am just going to work on these darker sections. I'm pressing quite hard here. And again, this is where Kerby has given us some guidance. Do down his jawbone here. You're going to blend all this out, so you don't need to be too careful when you're doing this part. We'll get that all squished in. That's nice. Nice, nice, nice. Now I'm going to take the lilac and I'm going to give the rest of his face another coat, just to build on what was already there. If you remember, you know, back a video or so ago, we did put a layer down already. And I'm bringing this up to what will be our highlighted area, which is going to be about here. Do around his eye as well. Just so that we can build the colour up a little bit. Do his bottom lip as well. There we go, that's a good start. Excuse me. Now, we need to work on these areas here. So this is coming down, this is going to be under his jaw, and I'm using the Parma Violet here with a medium pressure, and I'm just going to start blending into that dioxazine. And go in the middle area as well. I'm only going to take it up to here just now. I haven't quite decided what's going to go on up here yet. So, oh, that sunlight is bright, goodness me. You think I would have been used to sunshine by now, having just come back from somewhere like Mauritius, but it's such an infrequent occurrence in Scotland, it still shocks me. Okay, so Parma Violet, yep. And I'm just using a light touch now, and we're going to go in all the way under his little, I was going to say his chin, it's not under his chin, it's under his top lip, isn't it? Goodness sake. And then using the dioxazine, I'm going to make that really dark under layer. And then feather it out a little bit. Like this. I'm just using a light hand here. And then back to the Parma Violet, I'm going to blend that in now. Again, I'm not using any particular amount of pressure, I'm just letting the pen, no, it's not a pencil. I'm just letting the pencil do the work here. Build it up. And we'll carry on down underneath here. Now, because of the angle that he's sitting at in comparison to the one on the opposite side, I feel that there's going to be more of a shadow down here, a bit like there is in the scales on the body. So I'm using the dioxazine here, and I'm just going to put that sort of darker edge in along that bottom line. And then using little circular motions, I'm just going to blend it up into the Permaviolet. Back to the Permaviolet. Now you can see there's still quite a lot of the white of the paper showing through, so I'm basically just going to use the Permaviolet and go back over this now and just try and smooth this out a little bit. There we go. I think I said this before as well, it might have been a few videos ago, but if you are a kind of person that likes a really smooth, sort of silky finish, you can use a blender pencil or a burnishing pencil if you want to go back over and get rid of all this white. Personally, I'm not that bothered. Right, so let's move up into this section now, still with the Permaviolet. And I'm just going to do the same as I did over the other side. I'm going to give him like a sort of a cheek, if you like. So this part in the middle, I'm going to try and preserve it a little bit. And we'll use the lilac to help us with that. Now under his eyes here, I think it should make a little bit darker. I'll bring that down to there. Now this is all kind of down to preference. Make him kind of googly-eyed. So I'll do what I did over the other side as well, using the lilac really lightly. I'm just working in little circular motions around this part here and preserving this section in the middle so that it gives the illusion of a slight curvature on his face. And then we can kind of start smooshing that in with our Permaviolet roundabout. So when I come up to this side though, I'm going to go a bit heavier here, and then I'm just going to fade that out because that's us coming into what is the highlighted area. That's not bad. I'm kind of avoiding these other sections here just for now until I sort out this part first. Okay, I think in these lines in here as well, I'm not going to use the dioxazine. I think I'm going to go with the Permaviolet, but I'm going to lean quite heavily. I'll do the same at this side as well, just down the bottom. Yeah, happy with that. And then back to Permaviolet here. Build up some layers or some coats, whichever way you prefer to look at it. And back to my lilac just for a moment. I'll work on this little section here again. There, that's looking pretty good. And we'll now blend that with the Permaviolet there and start bringing this up to meet our highlighted area. I feel there's a little bit too much white here. It just seems very bare. So going very gently with this lilac, I'm just going to bring it up a little bit further. Yeah, that's better. I'm much happier with that. Finally, round his eye here as well, I'm going to use the lilac quite heavy and then just ease up towards the top. Again, we're heading back towards that sort of highlighted area. And then I'm just going to go back over this one more time. And then I'll work on this part here. Now I'm pressing quite hard, and I'm just going to light up as I get towards the top of that section there. Again, just so it blends in more with what's happening in the, you know, with the highlight. Oh, isn't he a handsome fish? We've done well, guys. Right-to-ho then, moving on. My inclination, having looked at all the sort of bits and bobs that are here, I'm back to the same situation where I want to reuse some of the colours, and the blues that we used over on this side, we have nothing on this side that incorporates that. So these pretty flowers down the bottom I thought would be a good place to start. It's one of those ones where if you want to use something completely different, by all means be my guest. I just like a little bit of continuity in my picture, and it's something that helps pull everything together. So the colours that we had for that were the indigo blue, which is PC 901, peacock blue, which is PC 1027, and also the lightest colour, which we kind of used as like a burnisher, matches my nails beautifully by the way, is sky blue light, and that's PC 1086. So I think what I'd like to do with these, apart from sharpen my pencil, because that's always a good place to start, I think I would like to have the indigo in the sort of like coming out from the centre, and use the peacock blue as the main sort of petal colour, but we shall see how it goes. So I'm going to start with this one here, because this looks obvious, and I'm just going to kind of like flick out a couple of pencil lines from the centre there. Kerby's lines are there, and I figure that we might as well use them. They kind of look like pansies. Underwater pansies. Right, if I zoom in now just to show you, now that you've seen me using the flicky motion as it were. So I'm going to take this opportunity to use the peacock blue, which is one of my favourite colours, and I'm going to start at the outside, and I am literally just tickling the paper. This is quite an intense colour, and I don't want to smudge it into the indigo too much just yet. So that was really, really light-handed. Literally as light as you can touch the paper. And we'll go all the way around here. Okay, that looks good so far. Now I'm going to take the sky blue light, and just round the outside edge of each petal, I'm just going to use a little circular motion, and you will be able to see how much it burnishes and smudges. I don't know if you can see that just no more on camera. And I'm going to do that all the way around the outside, and it's just to give the petals like a border, if you like. Just to add a wee bit of interest to them, a little bit different. Now by pressing as hard as you can, you're mashing the tooth of the paper down, and what it means is when we go in with this peacock blue, it's going to resist the peacock blue a little bit more. So same pressure as before, I'm just going back over what we've already done, and I'm stopping when I get to that edge that I have done with the sky blue light. I give it some contrast. There we go now, that's looking nice. This is just such a pretty set of colours together. I always think it's funny when I glance up at my monitor here, which kind of sits up to my left hand side. When I see things zoomed in this far when I've been colouring them, I'm like, oh my god, that's a mess. So you've got to think about the bigger picture rather than just staring at this one tiny bit going, oh look, my goodness, it looks a mess. There. Right. I'm quite happy with that, that looks okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these This one down here I thought was like the edge of a butterfly at one point, but I have come to the conclusion that it is just a petal from a slightly different angle. So I'm going to stick with that theory and have these all together. I have actually written this colour combination down. I like it that much. Because this is left like a, you know, but it's like from a different angle, I'm going to make this part dark in here because it's tucked in behind. And then take the sky blue light to do my edge, like that. And then go back in with the peacock blue. Very, very lightly. That one looks okay, that's good. That's another big one to do here. I have an incredibly itchy nose today. I know you all needed to know that. I don't know why though. Very strange. Ooh. Back with the sky blue light again. This morning, before I started work, I sat down and I counted the number of entries into the giveaway, and I am surprised at the number of entries, but also the balance between the two goodie packs. I expected there to be a lot more people that would be interested in the pastel pencils than the polychromos, and it's actually quite even. If you haven't seen the video for the 500 subscriber giveaway, I'll pop a link to it in the description down below if you haven't entered already. It is a giveaway. All you have to do is leave a comment on the video and let me know which pack you want. Everybody loves free stuff, surely, so feel free to do that if you haven't already. So yeah, it's going really well. Everyone seems to be really enthusiastic about it, which is awesome. That is just what we need. And we have until the 15th of October, so there is a deadline. So you have 5 days to get your entry in if you haven't already, and be in with a chance of winning some pretty good goodies. I'm happy because some of the things are from my own collection, and it's things that are just sitting gathering dust. And I've said this before as well, I hate the thought of things not getting used, especially when it comes to art supplies. It seems a shame, and I do have quite a lot of things now, and I'm at the stage where I've found brand preferences and things. So some of the items that I have bought early on and decided I liked, I've maybe gone and bought a bigger set or more of them or whatever. And the things like the pastel pencils, they were never used because a lovely friend of mine bought me some for my wedding present. So that little set of 12 has sat there and has never been used, and I'm like, well, you know, there's people out there that appreciate things like that and would probably enjoy using them, so why not put them in the giveaway? So I'm hoping that they're going to fulfill their destiny and one of you lovely people are going to put them to good use. That would be nice. That would be good to know. I'm quite fussy about things. I don't like having a lot of clutter. I think that's half my problem. I do have a lot of art supplies, but they all get used. I don't have, you know, 15, 20 sets of pencils. I don't have hundreds of colouring books. I don't have 8 sets of watercolours. I have different pencils for different things, and you know, I tend to like to use them. In terms of coloured pencils, somebody asked me this the other day. I have 3 sets of coloured pencils. I have a set of Crayolas, which that's the pencils I started off with, and I wore them down. I used every single one out of 100 pack until they were no longer there. And I now keep a new pack of Crayolas with this sort of rogue petal here. I'm just doing a gradient between the 3 colours. So I'm going to put the indigo in down at the bottom here and just gradate it out into the peacock blue. and then use a little bit of the sky blue light at the top. Yeah, so I now keep a pack of Crayolas for visitors, because I get quite a lot of the time people come in and are like, oh, I'd like to do that, and can I use your pencils? And I'm like, no, here, have the Crayolas. But they're great for kids as well, obviously, if they come visiting too, because I don't want them using my expensive pencils. So I have a set of Crayolas, and I also have a set of Prismacolors and Polychromos. That's it for pencils. I don't need any more pencils than that. So I'm a bit minimalist when it comes to things like that. I do have other types of pencils, as in watercolour pencils and things, but when, you know, I mean like common or garden colouring pencils, that's it. Okay, so those flowers look okay to me. I don't know what I'm going to do with the bits in the middle. And the branch, I am going to use the same colours that I have picked out for these sections of rope here and here. Now what I've tried to do with these is I have tried to pick out some of the colours again that we used over the other side, and I was really thinking about our little sea turtle buddy down here, so that was kind of where I was going with it. However, I didn't really want it to be identical to that because I didn't think it would look ropey coloured enough. You guys know what I mean, don't you? Yeah? Okay. So the colours that I have picked out for our rope, the colours that I have picked out for our rope, beige sienna, and that is PC 1080. I also have sandbar brown, which is PC 1094. And lastly, I have sepia, which is PC 948. And once again, I need to sharpen. There's a surprise. So our palest colour is the beige sienna. I'm going to start with this chunky monkey down here. And just the usual story, really light coat of this pencil. I'm going to do this tassely bit first because this is going to help me figure out how I'm going to map out the colours on the rest of the section. So I've just like literally just squished that over like that. And then with the sandbar brown, now I'm thinking the light's coming from this direction, but technically it doesn't really matter because this is kind of in the shadow of the fish, or it could be set back from the fish, so the lights might still hit it, I don't know. But we're going to have to give it some sort of dimension anyway. So I'm just going to go over Kerby's little ditty lines. I'm pressing quite hard here and maybe stick a little bit in there. And then I'm going to take my sepia, and I think of the sepia more as just like a shadow rather than part of the gradient, if that makes sense. So you're just going to use it to accentuate parts. You're not actually going to colour a lot of it in. So once you've done that, you can go back with your beige sienna and we can start to do a bit of blending out here. See how this goes. Now you know me, I like to leave a little bit of white. You don't have to, you can go ahead and colour it all in. I just like to leave a bit of a pale area for a wee bit of contrast. It doesn't have to be on every single section either. There's nothing to say that you have to do that. Okay, that looks satisfactory to me. Now with it, this looks like a section that's been wrapped round, and perhaps it should even be a different colour. However, I want to keep it all the same, so I'm just going to do a very light gradient, kind of like I did with that petal here. So the sandbar brown, maybe up to about there-ish, maybe a little bit further up on the one to the right. And then I can use my sepia down in the bottom here, just to really get some depth. Yeah, that looks alright. Maybe put a little bit more of the sandbar in. And then the beige sienna. We'll just finish that off nicely. Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. Right, so I'm quite confident now that those colours are fine together. So I'm just going to, in these big sections, I'm just going to whack down a whole load of this beige sienna. Just get it on the paper. Again, not using any sort of pressure whatsoever. The beauty of Prismas is that you can tickle them across the paper and they will lay down. Let them do the work, you don't need to. It's also really good if you get crampy hands or you've got arthritis in your hands. I highly recommend Prismacolor pencils for that because they really are, they're very, the word that's used to describe them most often is buttery, and I think it is a very descriptive word. Okay, so I've got my sandbar now. Using Kerby's lines as a bit of a guideline, helped me out a little bit. And I'm making a kind of U shape with this here, and again, it's to help with the idea of this sort of curvature on the rope. And then I can take my sepia and put a little bit down here. Ooh, see, that's making that look nice and dark. I like that. Make it dark in this corner too. And then maybe just a little bit up this side. Ooh. And I'm going to go back to my sandbar. Smooth that out a bit. And then back to my beige sienna. And we'll just pop that in there like that. A bit more here. I'm trying to match this sandbar up with the part next to it so that it all looks, you know, roughly in the same place. I don't know if you can see that very well. Maybe see it a bit better now. Yeah, you can see I've tried to kind of like line it up there. Now on to the next section. Play with my sandbar. I've actually really missed colouring. I really haven't done a lot of colouring at all over the last few weeks. And I have been missing it. I keep seeing posts on Facebook and Instagram and I'm like, oh, I'd really like to colour that picture. But I have to be realistic. Between filming videos for here, for the channel, and doing Inktober, which is a drawing every day for the entire month, I don't think it's realistic to be able to squeeze in a lot of colouring as well. That's one of the reasons why I was really happy to do this video today as well, because I was like, yeah, I'm going to get colouring. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to colour for the entire month of October. And clearly I would have failed if I said that because I'm cheating right now. But I don't think I'm going to get an awful lot of colouring done, minus what I have planned for the videos here for the channel in the cave. So that makes me kind of a little bit sad. So I vowed that in November I'm going to do a lot of colouring in November. That's my plan. I have very special plans in the pipeline for December for videos, which I will talk to you about in due course a bit nearer the time. But I think that's going to take up a fair bit of time in the run up to the festive period. So if I'm going to want to do colouring for my own personal pleasure, I think it's going to have to be November. Okay, this is really tucked in, like really far behind, so, oh goodness me, throwing pencils away again. I seem to be really good at that, just like waywardly chucking them about. Give this a quick sharpen. I'm just going to use the sandbar brown and kind of just fill it in. And then I'll use the sepia just to darken around the edges, you know, like a little shadow type idea, like in there. Like, oh, it's dark in there. Oh, there we go. Yep, good. Up to this section here, and I'm back with my beige sienna, which incidentally is a pencil I hardly ever use. I don't seem to use the sort of flesh colours and the pale pinks very often. When I looked in my pencil case, they are all still quite long. Right, I've got sandbar here, and I'm just kind of making like a U shape here. I'll maybe do the same down here too. Yeah, when I look in my pencil case, like compared to my greens, which I use all the time, the pinks and the sort of fleshy tones look a bit sort of redundant and pathetic. Like, and some of them I haven't even used, or I wouldn't say I haven't used them, but I haven't sharpened them. I'm like, oh, that's quite sad. So I might have to pick a picture and do it all in pinks and flesh tones and remedy that a bit so that they don't feel left out. I'm just using a tiny bit of sepia here on this top part, on the fringy part. Make it jaggy. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's move on to our other section of rope, which I do believe is, yeah, it's here. I think I might have to colour in this spoon while I'm here. Let's do the spoon. Beige sienna, go. I don't know if beige sienna is a spoon colour, but it is now. Yeah, that looks like a good spoon colour. Why not? I don't think I'll go to the sepia, but I think I'll just get in here with some of this. Oh, crumbly pencil. Oh no. Get in here with some of this sandbar. Ugh. Okay, maybe a little bit of sepia, just right in here, in at the crook of the spoon. The crook of the, no, you know what I mean. And just go back to my beige sienna now. Darken this down. Looks like a spoon to me, guys. What do you think? I'm not sure what this is. Oh, that's the, okay. I was going to say, I'm not sure what this is in here. Helps if it's in shot, Gem. But this part here, this tiny triangle, I think is, I'm just going to colour it in, is part of my seafoam, and that's actually a gap, so it's water, and this is the corner of the box, I think. That's the thing with Kerby's stuff. Sometimes it's quite complicated and it takes a little bit of deciphering. And everybody's interpretation is different. Okay, back to beige sienna. Colour in these tassels, very light hand, circular motion. Let's just get a coat of that down on there like so. Now bearing in mind again your light source is coming from up here. So bearing that in mind, I'm going to take the sandbar brown and I am going to just sort of flick in a few bits here and there, particularly on this top part. Pop that in there as well. And then the likes of this bit underneath, I'm just going to use the sepia. Maybe add a bit more in there. Looks good to me. And then I'm just going to smush it all together with my beige sienna. That's going to work. There we go. Nicely done. And with these parts here, which to me don't look like part of the actual rope, if that makes sense, I'm going to do what I did with the other part and just do a 3 pencil gradient here. So put down my beige sienna, grab my sandbar brown, start at the bottom, and just sort of fade that out the further up we get, because the light source is coming from the top, and then use the sepia just in at the bottom there, the darkest part down the bottom. What do you think? Now doing sections of rope, this can get quite repetitive, but I do sort of follow the same formula as I have just done. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this section first. There is another part further over, but we'll do this one section at a time. It's not as nearly as repetitive as doing fish scales, so don't worry. It's not going to be that bad. So using the sandbar, I am going to put it in at the bottom here on some of these pieces of rope. Now you need to think here about where the light's hitting it, especially when it's bending round like this. So up here I've put the dark part in here, but as I've come down it's actually going the length of each section rather than the width, because the rope has turned and changed direction. To sharpen already. And I'm going to pop a little bit of sepia in here. I don't have to go crazy with this, really. Even every second section would be fine. And then go back to your, I was going to say sepia, no, back to your beige sienna. And we'll just work everything in together. Smooth some bits out. Okay, I'm not happy about this section here. I don't think there's enough definition between each of the sections, so I'm going to have to turn the page slightly. My bad. Sorry if it makes you seasick. And I am just going to add in a bit more definition using my sepia pencil. You see the difference that makes and how it makes each section stand out a bit more. I do like blended pencil, but I also think that having stark lines sometimes is actually quite effective, and don't be scared to use it. Put that in there maybe. Okay, much happier, much better, much better. All right, so let's do this little part down here now as well. Get this beige sienna on the go again. And my sandbar. And then we have the sepia. Make that quite dark in there. I'm bringing it up the left hand side a little bit, and again that's really just to create a little bit of contrast and, you know, between the sections. Just slightly over the top with the beige sienna, and I'm leaving more of a highlight along this section because I feel as if it's more exposed because it's not hanging underneath the fish. Again, that is just my interpretation though. Alright, so we've got this cupcake and we've got this little box as well. I think with the box I am going to go back to the colours that we used for the little paper sailboat down here, and also there was paper in an envelope over the other side as well. So I think we'll do that, and I'm just going to have to dig these out. So we have got eggshell. After this particular piece I never want to see eggshell ever again. Ginger root and artichoke, that was the three colours I remember now. So, for your own reference, eggshell, PC 140, ginger root, come on camera, ginger root, PC 1084, and artichoke, PC 1098. Now, I'm trying to think a little bit about the shading here as well, because it is tucked in behind, but we also have these two planes as well. So I think I'm just going to go... Oh, I'm nearly getting pencils mixed up here. I think I'm going to go in with the ginger root on the sides as the first colour, and just put a layer of that down on this side. In fact, on both sides. And I'm going to use the artichoke exactly as Kerby has intended here, clearly. And then I'm going to take the eggshell and just go over the top of it, because I feel it gives it more of like a cardboardy hue, whereas with the artichoke and the ginger root I think it looks quite green. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And then on this lid I'm going to do the top with the eggshell first. And then I am going to use the ginger root to just darken these sections down a little bit. And I'm going to put a line of the artichoke just along the bottom of that spoon there. Back to the ginger root and blend that out a little bit. And then another layer of eggshell just to finish that off. Now down the side I am going to do the same as I did for the bottom part of the box. So I'll put my ginger root down first. And then get a little bit of the artichoke on the go. And then go back to the ginger root. It feels as if I've filled it in, and then just a quick go over with the eggshell to make it that slightly sort of warmer brownier colour. And then we have a little box. It's quite a cute little box. Okay, let's look at this cupcake. Now, this is the dilemma, because to me that has to be, just absolutely has to be red. However, we don't have any other red in the picture, which irritates me slightly. Not gonna lie. However, we do have our lovely green colours. If you remember, I used up on the apple core, which was actual apple green. So I might go with some of that and the chartreuse instead, just for fun. Because everybody expects your cherry on the top of your cupcake to be a cherry, don't they? Well, mine isn't a cherry, mine's a something else. So there we go, just with the apple green, and that is such a lovely colour. I love it. And I'm just going to leave a perfect highlight. You can see that okay? Oh, looks tasty. And using the, going back to the sandbar brown, I'm just going to use that for the stalk. It's not very exciting, is it? Speaking of stalks, if we go back down here, I am going to use my apple green in exactly the same manner in the middle of these flowers. And I'm going to colour the stalks in using the rope colours, so some beige sienna. Just do these top, oh there's only a little bit in there, there's not much to do really. And my sandbar brown. I don't think I'll even go with the sepia, I don't think we need the sepia for this. Such a small area. Yeah, I think that's good like that. Yeah. And for the cupcake base, but bottom part, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I think we should maybe go for some yellows again, and we might use the yellows that we've used for the stars, again trying to keep that sort of continuity on the go. So that'll be the old faithful canary yellow, and I think I used, was it yellowed orange? No, it was sunburst yellow. Where are you? Spanish orange. I always get Spanish orange and sunburst yellow mixed up because they're very, you know, like the paint on the casing's really, really similar. I always get the two of them confused. Okay, so let's use the canary yellow first. We'll get a layer of that down, and then we can use the sunburst to darken down under where all this lovely icing is oozing over the side of the case. Am I making y'all want a cupcake yet? I'm pressing quite hard now. In fact, no, I'm pressing really hard. I don't often press really hard. Now is one of those times. There we go. And then I'm just going to go back with the canary yellow, blend this a little bit and build up that colour a little bit more so it really pops out, make it really vibrant against the fin of the fish. Righty-ho. Now the last thing I'm going to do here is I am going to pick a colour. What colour do I use for the icing? I kind of wanted to make it pink. Let's go outside the box a wee bit here. Let's get the colour wheel. I'll zoom out a bit. Let's do a colour wheel lesson while we're here, shall we? Okay, here's my colour wheel, and I've used green and yellow on the cupcake. So if I move my colour wheel, even for the split complementary, I have green and yellow, then that would give me, surprise, surprise, purple. Do we really want any more purple things? This is the question. I think I'm going to have to go for it. I want my cupcake to look pretty, so let's go back to purple. But let's just use the lilac. Oh, it does look quite pretty actually. Wow, we are super zoomed in. Sorry about that, guys. I think I took the zoom too far this time. Give the Parma Violet a bit of a sharpen. And I'm going to pop a little bit of that in there and down here. And then I'm going to go back with the lilac that needs sharpened again. Can you see what I mean about how messy this looks this close up? It's like, wowee. Gem's not even coloured half the bloody things in. It's really good for me to be able to see what I'm blending though, because it's easier for me to see it in the big screen than squint my eyes down that close to the actual paper. Plus as well, if I do that, my head gets in the way of the camera, so I'm trying to avoid that if I can. Just building up some colour here. There we go, that's a pretty cupcake. Well, it looks pretty from a distance. It maybe doesn't look pretty that close up, but yeah, I'll not worry about it too much. Alright, we are nearly there, boys and girls. Nearly there. Got a funny feeling this is going to be a long video again. Zoom out a little bit, that was a bit extreme. That was a bit of an extreme zoom there. Moving on up the way, we have our little seahorsey friend here. Yeah, I think maybe he deserves to be yellow as well. So I've just got my poor little canary yellow that there's not much left of really. Feel free, with things like this, especially when we're so close to finishing a picture, feel free to choose other elements of the picture. When when it comes to picking colours for the last few items, you could use the greens that we've used in some of the fronds, the plants and things. You could use them instead of yellow, or you could use your Kerby creatures colours, or mix it up a bit. I love how rich when you put the sunburst yellow, sunburst over the top of the canary. I love the colour that it comes out, it's so rich. I'm just really accentuating here with this sunburst. I'm not really colouring anything in, to be honest. I'm just randomly placing it. Give them a proper yellow belly. Oh, he looks so cute. I'm going to have to fill his eye in. He's another one that's got a soulless eye. What is with this? I think someone's going to have to email Kerby and tell him to stop doing it because it makes his creatures look creepy. I don't like it. Oh, look, that's much better. See, now I need to zoom in again to show you. Okay, I've been kind of dreading this. This is the last item on the page and I have no idea what to do with it because I don't know what it is. It looks like a bagel sandwich to me. So I'm going to go on the premise that it is a bagel, which I'm going to go to beige sienna. Yeah, let's use beige sienna. So again, that was PC 1080 for the top and the bottom parts, because that's almost like a doughy colour. And I'm just going to use a light hand there, and the same on this top part until I decide what I am doing with it. I think as well I'm going to take my canary yellow. I am just winging this, can you tell? I'm going to take my canary yellow and put a layer of that in as well, just to warm the colour up a bit. Make it look more like a baked bun. Yeah, that's a bit better. And then I'm going to go back with the beige sienna and try and add a bit of definition here. Yeah, that's warmed that up considerably. Good stuff. Like it when that happens. And again, thinking about where the light source is coming from, so I'm going to be a bit more heavy-handed around this outside edge here. There. Da, 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 da. And make it a little bit lighter. There. Does that look like a toasted bagel to you? That's debatable. Maybe I've kind of chosen the wrong colours for a bagel, but it looks like a baked something or other anyway. And again, I am going to take my apple green and assume that this is lettuce of some description, maybe? Perhaps, who knows? We're making it lettuce now. And I haven't gone too heavy with that. Just adding a few squiggles there, quite heavy-handed, just to give it some texture. Again, this close-up it looks terrible, but when you see it from a distance it looks okay, I promise. And lastly, our very last colour. I don't even know what to put in here. I really don't. What would we put in there? I was trying to avoid having to introduce another colour, which was, you know, we avoided it with the cupcake and the red thing. But I really don't know what else to put in there. I can't make it blue. I don't really want to make it brown. And I don't really want to make it a Kerby colour. It's going to have to be brown. It's going to have to be like a burger. Isn't it? Oh, okay. That's not very exciting, but... Now that is just sandbar, pure and simple. Heavy as you like. Alright. And that is everything on the page complete. Look at that for some handiwork. That is pretty good going, guys. Okay, well done if you have stayed with me through the whole thing. When we look at the picture as a whole now, it looks pretty good. One would almost be tempted to not do a background. However, that was what got me started on this picture, so we are definitely doing the background. Okay guys, thank you very much for colouring along, or even just listening to me ramble a little bit while you do something else. And next video we shall get this picture finished in all its pastel-y glory. Have a good day guys, and we'll see you next time in the cave. Bye for now.